This meeting is being recorded.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to our June Ranching 101 webinar presented by AgTrust. Today, you will hear from an industry expert and learn why it is important to keep your records. Before we start, please join me for a short message from AgTrust.
When your passion is agriculture and a rural way of life, you need a partner who understands. That partner is AgTrust Farm Credit. Formed from two trusted farm credit associations, our mission is to provide personalized financing tailored for full and part-time farmers, ranchers, agribusinesses, and rural homeowners. And because we live in the communities we serve, AgTrust Farm Credit is here to help you succeed.
Well, today we're excited to welcome Carlos Ochoa from Two Rivers Ranch to share how effective record keeping can drive herd productivity and profitability. Carlos will discuss how consistent, accurate data supports smarter decision making across your entire operation, from health and nutrition to genetics and marketing. There will be practical tips for building efficient record keeping systems and using that information to guide both daily management and long term planning. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them in the chat box or the Q&A box. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Carlos.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Bryn, for the introduction. My name is Carlos Ochoa. I've been here at Two Rivers Ranch for the last 6 years, and yeah, it's been a great time and learned lots of stuff. So I'm just going to kind of share my screen here real quick and dive into this slideshow presentation that I made. Lots of information. Please ask questions in the box, and we'll try to answer as many of them as the end. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody that does, and we'll make sure and get it back to you. So again, thank you for this opportunity, and hope y'all learned something. All righty, well, let's get into it. I'm going to be going through a bunch of stuff here, and I just want to put out there real quick that I'm not endorsing or sponsored by any of these products I may mention or use as ideas and things that we do out here at the ranch. So this is just stuff that really works for us and that we've implemented over the years. So again, not sponsored, branded, or anything. These are just tools and ideas and items that have really increased profitability here at the ranch and just help add to the bottom line. So a little bit about me. I graduated from Texas A&M in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in Ag Systems Management. From there, I went to come and work out here at Two Rivers Ranch, where I've been here since 2018. We're a production agriculture ranch where we focus on cow-calf production, both in commercial and registered stock. We do a stocker and feeder cattle program where we have a backgrounding yard, and we bring fresh cattle in, straighten them out, and either sell them as feeder cattle or we'll retain ownership through them into the feedlot. And then also where this ranch is located, we are in South Texas, so we do have a very large hunting and wildlife enterprise here at the ranch that we do stuff from deer hunting to bird hunting, and just a handful of things. During my time here at Two Rivers Ranch, I also had the opportunity to further my education and go to TCU Ranch Management, where I was part of the class of 2022 and received my certificate in that. I like to joke and tell people I got my degree at Texas A&M, but I got my education at TCU. I learned a lot. The professors were great, and a lot of the things that I am going to hit on in this presentation were things that I learned at Texas A&M, but also a lot that I learned at TCU Ranch Management while I was going through the program. And some of the quotes and the ideas shared were from the professors that they pass down to us, the students. And I mean, they've just really stuck with me personally, and we use them, daily here at the ranch, and they help a lot. So carry on. So the big idea I have for everybody is you can't manage what you can't measure. It's a pretty simple yet broad statement, and we're going to kind of dive into that, and I guess focus on how this saying ties into record keeping here at the ranch and in all areas, from livestock all the way down to your human resources and administrative tasks. So the goal I have for everybody here is to have a better understanding in managing their human resources, their financial resources, and natural resources through efficient record keeping, whether it's at your ranch, your company, your home, or a job that you're going to go and take on as a new employee or as a manager. So quick background on what is the record keeping. A good definition: it's a management tool for making business decisions. We all are going to be tasked with making difficult, easy, daily, weekly, and sometimes yearly decisions by the minute, by the hour, by the day. Doesn't matter. So records are one of those things that we can go back and look at to help effectively make these good decisions. Hopefully they're good, and add to the bottom line while maximizing the profitability. They can come in many forms of fashion: written, digital, visual, and there's just a bunch of examples that we can kind of go, we're going to kind of talk about and I'll discuss during this presentation. It's pretty simple. Measuring is accountability. If you can't manage what you can't measure here. So again, record keeping is a measuring tool, and that helps keep us accountable in our daily duties at the job that we're tasked with, whether it's at the ranch, your company, whatever it may be. But you can also get really lost in the weeds with record keeping. I know I can sometimes. I don't know if it's me being OCD or sometimes some of the perfection, but focus on what matters. Not trying to count beans here, and the grains of salt in the sand. Again, just focus on what matters, those really important records that I then kind of shift over to the types of records. There's livestock records, wildlife, your financial records, grazing and forage, equipment maintenance, feed, nutrition, rainfall and water, and administrative records. Those specific ones I listed out here are kind of what I'm going to touch on during the meat and potatoes of this presentation. There's a bunch of other different types of records. But for us personally here at the ranch, and what my job description is, this is kind of the stuff that I focus on every day while I'm out here. And we use it, not only I do, but my employees, the government, our bankers, the owners. So it's really important that you keep good records and documentation of all of these things, because essentially these may be different enterprises that you have at your job. So who needs records? I just kind of touched on that. Whether you're a business partner, you're an owner, your manager, your foreman, the employees you hire, your human resources staff, whether you have a full-on corporate staff, or it may be your wife, your spouse, a niece, nephew, anybody of that statute, even yourself. The one I highlighted big and bold at the bottom is the banker. And I really want to emphasize and stress how important it is to build a strong and confident relationship with your banker, whether you're starting out small or you're taking on a big and large business. You will talk with a banker, a loan officer, a lender, some type of individual from a higher financial institution during some point of your career. And one of the things they always ask me personally is, let me see your records, financial records, inventory records, cash records, invoices, all sorts of things. So that's why I kind of really highlight it. And I think a lot of people do kind of forget about that. And that's why I'm emphasizing how important it is to build that relation with your banker, whoever it may be, because guess what? You'll never know whenever you need to go and borrow money. When is it needed? It can be daily, weekly, quarterly, annually. This all kind of depends on the type of the type of business and ranching operation you run. We kind of use all of these things here where we do stuff daily, we look at stuff weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and that all it varies and depends on what enterprise we may be focusing on that day. Cow calf, there's daily items that need to be handled. That's feeding the cows, putting out hay, checking water. We take all that stuff, those records, they need to be consolidated at the end of each week, and they go into our kind of our database where we keep everything, our inventory of feed, mineral, all of that stuff that then needs to be removed from inventory, costed out, which then goes against our budget for each one of these kind of areas, which then affects our monthly financials and kind of where we settle at the bottom line. Did we overfeed? Did we underfeed? Do we need to reorder feed? All of those things. So daily, weekly, monthly, I think are three of the most important ones here. From there, whether you're like the owner, the banker, your business partner, looking at where you finish on from a quarterly standpoint, that can help determine and drive, okay, projections wise, do I need to change something? Do we need to find more income? Do we need to sell something? All of that then later consolidates into what you need to look at annually on a year-to-year basis, which I hope everybody does. It's okay, how did we do at the end of the year? So record keeping will help you determine all of these things and honestly they'll help you make the best management decisions possible. Why is it important? Again, in the previous slide, I kind of touched on these items. Improve decision making, control and profitability. You want to maximize your profits as best as you can. I really like this one, compliance and legal requirements. You got to maintain that ag exemption. I know, we do. Most of everybody in the industry will have some type of ag exemption. And whether you do apply for government programs through your local NRCS office and your Farm Service Agency office, having records and business records, whether it's meeting notes to your cattle inventory numbers to how much feed you put out, these are things that those offices will ask for and need record of in order to maintain those requirements to hold on to those exemptions and to qualify for government programs. Performance tracking, you can really get in the weeds here between KPIs and your key performance indicators as you are as a business compared to like an average somewhere else, whether it's a national average, a world average, your county's average. And that I can also dive into your benchmarking and goal making, taking those records and determining, all right, let's set some benchmark for ourselves, at the ranch, and then set some goals. Yes, I emphasize they can be different because a goal may be more of a long-term deal where in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, you may want to have we want to see the most uniform calf crop. But as a benchmarking tool, it's like, okay, this breeding season, I want to see an 80, 90% conception rate and a 98% weaning rate. So that's why I kind of separated those two. And I think it's something that we really try to focus on, and you start small and then build up to the bigger picture. It can't be done in one day, overnight, in a week. It does take a lot of time. And the last deal is the succession planning and the value appraisals. Whether this place you're running or taking on or buying is long-term, short-term, you need to have efficient and good records for it because you never know whenever that time may become. You need to sell it. You need to reappraise it. Tax purposes, there's a whole list of things I can dive get into. Don't want to bore y'all with that, but just something else to kind of keep in mind. I don't like dealing with tax people just as much as y'all do, but you own a piece of property, you're going to deal with a county appraisal district, and they're going to ask you for records. All righty, so the types of records. This is kind of the meat and potatoes and where I get into the examples and ideas we've used and implemented here at Two Rivers Ranch over the course of the last 6 years where I've been here that have really worked for us. They may not work for you. So again, I'm using this for where we're at cow-calf operation. We do commercial and registered, big hunt and wildlife stuff, yearlings, and our most limiting, I think, factor out here would probably be our water. So I'm going to kind of dive into it here. Livestock records. Here at Two Rivers Ranch, we have to manage a cow-calf inventory, both from the commercial side and the registered side. And it's important to know where cattle are, when they went in, how many head are turned out, and just keeping track of that, both on the commercial and the registered side. Going into the stocker stuff, this can vary and depend throughout the year, whether you're running purchase cattle, yearlings, or you're weaning your ranch raised calves, and you need to do something with them. Having good and accurate records of those whenever they calve, whenever you wean them, and whenever you may start turning them out on grass or giving them feed, are all really important things that you need to do. And going into the medicine and supplies as well, whether you have a spring herd or a fall herd, but the working schedule, the meds you're going to give, anything you need a doctor, these are all very important items that will affect your bottom line if not properly managed and having good records of them. There was a podcast deal I listened to a while back about an individual showing up to a place down in South Texas for the first time and going, they were given a number of, okay, this is how many head are supposed to be out here. Well, when they went out to go and gather it, it was not what was actually on paper. It was actually 2 to 3 times that amount because proper records were not kept, and the herd ended up becoming mismanaged. And from that, the place was essentially overrun by cattle that were never on the books. So I'm emphasizing this because to express and show like how quickly a small cow-calf herd can get away from you if your records aren't managed correctly. Whenever you rotate pastures and move them from one place to the next, if you don't get everybody and have records of that, whether they're bull calves or heifer calves inbreeding, it can mess up your genetics, mess up your numbers, mess up your forage and your grazing. So it's the stress and the idea behind it on making sure you get everybody, they're accounted for, and moving on to the next the next pasture, the next place, off ranch, on ranch, wherever. Some tools that we like using: the Excel spreadsheets, Google Sheets, the iPhone shared docs. Those are all great, I guess, kind of tools that I like to use. I know there's hundreds of different other technologies and programs. I kind of talked about them in the micro programs, softwares like CattleMax, StalkerOne, AgriWeb. I've heard great things about all those programs, but they're just something we don't use at the ranch. Y'all may incorporate and use them on your place, but for us, the Excel sheets, the Google Docs, and share notes, we get by with that, and we haven't had any issues. So I'm not saying there's any room, there's no room for improvement, because there always is, but it's just kind of what works for us. Here's an example. It doesn't have to be crazy or super detailed that some of these macro programs get. This is an Excel doc I made. This is an example whenever I was coming up with a basic type of inventory record. Break it down by location, the type, whether it's cow-calf, replacement heifers, calves, your bull herd, purchase stock herds, or ranch raised calves. I have a key over here on the side. I have it all broken down, and I can just put the number in and where they're at on the ranch. And in the notes section there, I can put, okay, we put him in this pasture during this date. Over to the right, I have my date, what today's date is. And then from there, you can start managing and determine, okay, I'm going to build out my grazing rotation schedule from there. Excel documents, super easy. This is an iPhone. This is actually part from my iCloud. This was an example I used when we were straightening out a lot of fresh cattle on grass and in different pens. This is something where I could add people to this group message deal here, kind of like Google Docs, with my employees and my workers. Again, super simple, table built, date, tag numbers, a pool type, what pen they came from, any notes I had associated with it. So this example, we were straightening out heifers, and I have the tag number, the pools, and what trap they came from, because once it's all inputted into this, I then take it at the end of the day and I input it into my actual break even that I have built out by lot for this specific group of purchase cattle, that then costs out each cc of medicine that's coded within it. And from there, it's moved over to my consolidated page where it shows on my bottom line, okay, this is what I actually have in these cattle now versus what I budgeted for. So you can accurately track your break even, what you need to make on these cattle. Death loss, the same deal. Multiple pools of medicine that you may be doing, and just other general notes. So I really like a good old fashioned iPhone. It's quick, efficient. Everybody has one. I'm sorry, Android users, I'm calling y'all out on this one, but as far as efficiency and quickness, I really like it, and it populates to everybody's iPhone, iPads, Macs, all at one time. I didn't talk about that on kind of my consolidated list of things, but another one, horse maintenance records. Here, down here where we're at the ranch, we do everything horseback, helicopters, dogs. So we have a remuda of horses. Need to accurately track. They're essentially their own group of livestock, but need to know whenever they're shod, they're given vaccination warmers. You need doctor treatments or vet visits, getting teeth floated, Coggins. I mean, the list goes on. So may fit you, may not. For us, it's another important record keeping tool that we got to keep here, just like you keep up your equipment, which I'll dive into later, your trucks and vehicles, your Rangers, your farming equipment. We got to keep up our horses just in the same way. On the first page I showed y'all on livestock management and record keeping, on accurately tracking where your herd is and everything. One thing we did start out here using was a drone. And boy, that was kind of a learning curve from the very beginning. I wasn't very familiar with it, but we started using it, really, really liked it. And when we go to moving herds, whether it's cubing them in or driving them horseback, making sure we get everybody out of there and everybody, all livestock accounted for, a drone really helps with that. And it's just a DJI one. They are a little expensive, but I think they're well worth the investment, and they save you a lot of time and money when it comes to moving herds, checking water, checking fence, a whole bunch of stuff. So again, it's a good management tool, but it's also a good record keeping tool, because the drones, you can take pictures on them. Here in South Texas, big wildlife aspect to most of these ranches down here. Heck, even the farming, the farmer side of it too. A lot of lease hunting and bird hunting and things like that. But deer harvest logs, surveys, data, whether you have native species introduced and exotics, your high fence, low fence, you need to keep accurate data of all of this stuff. A lot of people just kind of put it on the backside and like, we have all this country, the wildlife, don't really do much with it. Well, guess what? Those animals do affect your grazing and your water, and I mean a bunch of your natural resources there, because they're an animal. They're technically an animal unit. I'm going to label it as an AU. So they will eat and do, I mean, essentially what some of your bovine and livestock may be doing. Whether you're sheep and goat producer, they browse, so do deer. So that's why I kind of emphasize the importance of keeping records. You may not do much with it or sell anything of it, but it's good to have a general idea of what kind of wildlife may be on your property, because it could be an enterprise, it could be an opportunity to make money that you didn't know about, but it can also affect a lot of those other things that I mentioned. Some good and quick, easy deals to kind of get into this if you've never dealt with it before. Helicopter surveys, we do them down here. We're so dense with brush, pastures are thick. It's the most efficient way to get an accurate deer count of what's actually on a place, but it's also, it's the most costly. There's things like night surveys and camera and site surveys where they don't cost as much, but they require a little more labor. They're more labor intensive, and you got to go out and check and put out cameras. So there's input costs and all these other deals. You can recruit and hire a wildlife biologist, or you can go to your NRCS office or your Texas Parks and Wildlife Department in your county and ask maybe for one of them that's on staff that would volunteer to come out to your place and maybe help you do a wildlife survey on your place. Most of these, most places, they don't charge the NRCS and the TPWD. The wildlife biologist that's on staff, I can call him up, and if I got questions or something, he's more than happy to help us with what we're doing. If you do a lot of stuff with hunting and wildlife and your deer, you may be part of a thing called the MLDP program, the Managed Lands Deer Program. And that's why I kind of emphasize on having accurate survey data, because part of your reporting requirements as an MLDP ranch is reporting, okay, what were my numbers every year? What did we harvest? What we did not harvest? And any other data, the amount of acres, whether they're high fence, low fence, all of that stuff, it goes into their land managed website, their LMA website. And from there, they'll distribute your tags for the hunting season. So again, doesn't apply to everybody, but if there are any hunting wildlife people, it will to you, especially if you do want to apply for an MLDP program. We use it over here because the hunting aspect is a big part of our ranch, and one of our, it's a very profitable enterprise. We hunt from, what was that? The first week of October all the way through the last day of February. So dang near almost 6 months of hunting we have at the ranch. It's extended longer than your normal hunting seasons that are not MLDP. Record keeping, these are the forms that they use. You can go through everything on here. I'm not going to bore y'all with it. These are examples of Excel spreadsheets that one I made here on the left that I keep records of here at the ranch, where we may go and harvest deer throughout the season. And on the right, something that a wildlife biologist may use after a survey to determine, okay, in this pasture, we had this many bucks, does, fawns, the total, the acres sampled, and what your ratios are, because that ratio is your record that you then have to take to a biologist to help you determine, okay, this is what we need to harvest this year. Because just like cattle, if you don't manage your cattle, your deer herd will get away from you, and next thing you know, you'll be overrun with deer. I've seen it on a lot of places, especially high fence places. Again, another example that wildlife biologists use, where they get into current populations, the harvest, and post-harvest populations. This is data, numbers. You can really get into the weeds in it. I like looking at it from a management standpoint on managing our deer herd here in South Texas. Financial records, probably one of my most favorite and probably the most boring to most people, but just emphasizing the importance on these things. Excuse me. Financial records was something I was trading deep water in before TCU Ranch Management. Didn't really know a whole lot about them. I've heard of them. Thought I knew what they encompassed and were all about, but it wasn't until going through the program and really diving through them and getting with my professors and visiting these other producers, where they did open up their financials to us as the students going through this program, and seeing, okay, this is what it really takes to run a profitable enterprise. Then I finally came to the understanding and the respect for having a really good set of financial records. They got everything here besides managing your livestock and having good records on that, or having a good set of financials, because that is what's going to determine whether you're profitable or not. And you can also then take to your banker if you ever do need to go and borrow money. So types of records: budgets, break-evens, your actuals, and your consolidateds. Beginning and inventory, I put that one on there because if you're going on to taking management of the place for the first time, first thing they always told us was, you take an inventory of everything that is there day one. It may take you a week, but day one, you get in there, you start doing it. And if you ever decide to leave the place, you take an inventory and you always hand off both of them, so there's no questions asked. Invoice coding, chart of accounts, really getting the weeds on this one too. That's a term people use. AP, AR, accounts payable, accounts receivables. If you have a corporate office, a a lot of time your office and your office staff will take care of a lot of this stuff for you, but you need to know what it is and what to do with it whenever it does come in front of you to answer questions. Balance sheet items, not going to hit a whole lot on. Your income statement, we'll touch a little bit because that's also known as your profit and loss, your P&L. Your income statement, this actually shows profitability. And then the bottom two, which I think are two of your most important ones, but they do not show profitability, are your liquidity reports and your cash flow statements. I think those are some of your two most important records. Some good tools to use for these things are Excel spreadsheets, making your own spreadsheets if you can't use or feel comfortable using anybody else's. I highly recommend make your own. They can be as simple or as complex as you want to make them. My roommate at TCU, I called them scrolls. They were just ledgers of documents. And when I go back, keeping the information of what matters, that's to each their own. So keep that in mind. QuickBooks, accountants, company controllers, again, more office type stuff that you may not handle as an individual producer, but somebody else in your company may. If you do, more power to you. And then the last one, information management companies, third-party companies. There's a bunch out there. If you're a big corporate business juggling a lot of different enterprises, not just ranching and farming, but other outside entities that may affect your overall company structure, or let's say call it the umbrella. One of these companies reaching out to, they're not cheap, but they can help keep all of your stuff in a nice nice box and with a bow on it, ready to go whenever you need it. This is an example of a break even that I like building out whenever we go to running yearlings. Again, it may look complicated to a lot of people. To me, it's pretty simple. I built it and refined it, but it answers everything that I need to whenever we go and looking at, okay, do I want to go and run cattle or make a purchase of these cattle coming in? This is the very first record tool that I build before making a purchase. You see there on the right side, I guess this is 192. That's your break even. This was back in 2023. Break evens have changed significantly till then. I wish they were still the same, but unfortunately they're not. It's not as cheap to buy cattle anymore. And this is just to show you all an example of how easy you can take an Excel document and build you something similar to this that can then go and help track, okay, we're going to run some yearlings this go around on some grass, and this is what I need to know. Here on the right corner, that iPhone share document that I was talking to you about in the beginning, all of that information I plug into this Excel document on a separate sheet, then kind of populates into this where it has all of my pools, labor, overhead, you name it, which then ties into my overall expenses for this specific lot of cattle, the year and the lot. That's how I kind of code it. And then from there, it gives me an actual, okay, this is what I'm tracking for my gross P&L and what my break even is. So that then all goes into a record that I build as a consolidated, which is again another fancy way to show just it's a summary. You got your projections and you got your actuals. This is just a tool that I use, and this is what I like to show people. I don't show everybody this deal after everything's done and said. Whenever an owner asks me, or the bank asks me, hey, how did that lot of cattle do for the money you borrowed for us to make that purchase of the cattle, and what did it return? I don't get in the weeds with everything else. This is what I show them. It has everything they care about, what we borrowed, the interest, the projected cash, and what we actually made. So a consolidated, very important document and record to keep on anything you're running, whether it's cow-calf, yearlings, all of that stuff. Budget still, diving in cow-calf budget. If you don't have a cow-calf budget, I don't blame you. A lot of people don't. They just go with the flow and they're going to buy some cows and turn them out. It's not that hard to do one. So this is just to show you another quick example of break it down into two deals: fixed costs, variable costs, write them all out, and from there you can determine what your annual cow expense. This was just some random numbers I put together. They're not accurate by any means, but it's just to show you how quick and simple you can take this and do it on a piece of paper. Big Chief tablet. You don't need a fancy Excel sheet or a computer to do it. More here where I basically broke down everything on the here on my fixed costs. I broke it down into another separate sheet where I went ahead and listed out everything, all my overhead, my labor, land, lease costs, depreciation, interest, all of that. Good record to keep if you're not doing it already. This is the one that most people do keep, though, are your medicines, your feed expenses, your hay, what you're putting out, all of that. I got real fancy, real OCD on it. Ties all back into that cow budget on an Excel document, nothing else that I'm using. And then it kind of tells me at the very end what this page is. Okay, the need to know of everything. It's like, what do I need to sell my cows for at the end of the year in order to break even on all my expenses I have put into that cow? And this is kind of what it helps all lead up to, which is your bottom price number here, per 100 weight, 197. So a lot of people don't know these numbers, and I wish more people did. And it's something that I take pride in, knowing that if somebody asks me, hey, what's your break even on this? What's your break even on that? What's your medicine cost on this? And that I can either tell them off the top of my head or tell them, give me 5 minutes, and I can let them know. Other records, talking about opening inventories, again, really simple. You're looking at equipment and stuff, description, quantity, the data to acquire, cost. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Write it on a piece of paper. This is like balance sheet items, equipment, ranch vehicles, farming equipment, implements, things like that. This would be a good sheet to put everything on. Chart of accounts and coding and classifying your invoice records. I hate coding invoices, I think, more than anybody else, but it's a very important job at the ranch. Every expense that every receipt that we received is some type of expense, whether it's buying some hay, buying that nut or bolt. It all has to go against one of the enterprises here at the ranch, or it goes into our general overhead deal. And it needs to be costed and accounted for. It can be tedious and time consuming. So that's why I encourage you, get with your accountant, get with your controller, whoever may use, or if you don't, come up with a simple record keeping system and determine, okay, what enterprise is it going to go to? Is it going to go to cow calf, my wildlife, my stockers? These are the examples I used right here, the CC, PC, and SC. Get in the weeds there. There's things called cost centers, profit centers, and support centers. It's more of an accounting deal. It's just something that we use and break it down across these enterprises: general and administrative, labor and management, and machinery and equipment. Those are the separate tabs that my expenses, which are like these: feed and hay, repairs, supplies, vet stuff, medicine, all goes against, which then all takes and it ties into your monthly P&L statement. So it all starts in the office, and eventually it'll get all the way to the computer, and you can help kind of, clean up everything and realize, okay, are we spending too much? Are we under budget, over budget? And you can make some better management decisions on where you need to cut spending, or if you're doing good and tracking on spending. Net worth statement. This is just an example of a balance sheet item. Not going to dive too much in there. If you have one, great. If you don't, again, it's not really important, but to a banker, though, it kind of is. They'll kind of ask you what all your long-term and short-term liabilities are, your cow notes, your equipment notes, stuff like that. This is where you show it. Income statement. This is where your profit is. You can do it day by day, week by week, month by month. We look at them from a month-to-month perspective and then review them annually at the end of each year. So pretty simple. Take your revenue, your expenses, other expenses, subtract the two, and that's what your net income is. So it all goes back to coding your invoices properly, making sure they go to the correct enterprise, that they all go into the income statement correctly. And from there, you can kind of determine whether your operation or enterprise that month was profitable or not, and determine what you need to change. these are the last two that I'll get into real quick. But the liquidity report, this is a weekly deal. Not everybody uses. We like using QuickBooks. Helps generate this. It's very simple. Cash management is the number one thing that I personally, focus on a day-to-day in a week-to-week basis. Because we don't have cash in the bank account. I can't pay for things on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis here. So knowing what your beginning cash balance and your ending cash balance each day is very important. If you have different accounts open, whether it's a hedge account, a trading account, another money account somewhere, and then your different deals like your lines of credits and any long-term debts or liabilities you may have are all very important items to keep notes and to keep notes on, because if you just keep, like I said, swiping that credit card, before you know it, you're going to read that it's maxed out. It's just like buying cattle. You're going to keep buying cattle. Next thing you know, the bank's going to tell you you're out of money. And you're like, what do you mean? Well, cattle are expensive now. Buying that same amount of cattle you may have bought 3 years ago doesn't equate to that same amount you can probably buy this year. So knowing what your credit availability is and knowing how those notes are affecting you on an interest carry from a month to month is very crucial in managing your cash in your bank account, whether that's your savings or operating. And my favorite part, the cash flow statement. This is the one tool that I think is very crucial and beneficial to your banker on showing them like, hey, this is what I need from a month to month basis, and will help determine what your operating loan will be, or what you need to maybe keep the lights on from a month to month scenario. So, and it can be as complex or as simple as you make it. I think this is a very generic and simple cash flow. You can really get into the weeds on this. If you're comfortable and familiar with it, more power to you. But if you're not, like I said, keep it simple, breaking everything out on this. Emphasizing this does not show profitability. It simply shows what you need at the end of each month in order to maintain a positive cash balance in your bank account. All right, done with the financial records. Hope nobody else is falling asleep. It should go pretty quick from here. Great grazing and forage records. This is one of those things I touched on, managing your natural resources. Your forage and your water out in your pasture are very important. So inventory types, forage, and soils. One of the best tools we used and I learned about was through NRCS. I know a lot of people may not feel comfortable using their technology or some of the stuff they may offer, just because it can get really complex. But if you have a good county district, the people within those should be able to help you out. We're very blessed and fortunate where we do have really good technicians that can assist you with, all right, where are my best soil types? Where do I need to plant this, introduce forage that I want to spend this amount of dollars on? So all of those things, having good records on that will help determine where you may want to plant something, and then make a better management decision behind it. So the soil web surveys from NRCS, their techs can help you. And then one deal I started looking at was virtual fencing. Halter HQ, it's a company based out of I think New Zealand, I believe, or Australia. I believe it's New Zealand. Anyway, it's there's a bunch of different type of virtual fencing. There's Vince, there's Gallagher. And this one just really stuck out to me. And we're actually running some numbers on right now at the ranch, because we do have very large pastures. It's South Texas brush. We may have a 3,000 acre pasture over here, and we may have a 60 acre pasture over here. And I need to move the 3,000 to the 60 acre pasture, and I only have 200 head turned out. So it's like, how do I efficiently get all of them out, and knowing where everybody's at from a record standpoint into that, and don't lose them? Well, virtual fencing and collars, all of that stuff can help you. It's just another tool. Whether it's cost effective to you, that's one of those decisions that you have to make. This is the example of the Soil Web Survey website. You can put in shape files from Google Earth. If you use Google Earth, that's another tool we really use here at the ranch and like. And this basically breaks it down and tells you all the piece of property. This is a shape file of the ranch here, and it'll tell you where all your best soils are that you may want to graze cattle, not graze cattle, plant, roller chop, do something to make the ground a little better than you found it. From that soil web survey, and this kind of gets in the weeds here, but determining from on your records there, okay, if I have this many cows, this many yearlings, this many sheep and goat, how can I effectively go and graze, my piece of property? Well, building something like this on Excel, which is like the top deal that I did here, and determining, okay, how many numbers of AUs can I run during favorable, normal, unfavorable conditions. A tool to use. The deal on the bottom here, NRCS can help you out with this. They'll divide all of your pastures up by their sites, and we'll take a forage survey and run transect lines, and then help you determine, okay, this is the number of AUs you can possibly run in this pasture. And from there, you can, whether it's cows, yearling, sheep, goat, or deer, take it and run with it. And it's not perfect by any means, but it's a good records tool to go back and look at and be realize, okay, we did good and undergrazed it, or we didn't do so well and overgrazed it, which you don't want. Grazing schedules. I did not build this one. NRCS did. I just took it and modified it and used it to where it fit our pastures and ranch here. But I have everything broken up by the herds, and having a good grazing record schedule. So throughout your pastures, those can get really in depth. In the end, it just depends on where you're running cattle, how many you have, and the conditions, how much your rain you've gotten, no rain, and where your water is available at. So by no means do I follow this to a T. It's just the baseline that I go off and follow on a year-to-year basis by herd to make sure and manage. I am managing my natural resources as best as I can, the natural resource being the land. Equipment and maintenance records. A lot of people always forget about this one, or just they hop in a piece of equipment and go, and that shouldn't be the case. I know as a young guy, you should just get in a truck, get in a tractor and just go. And some old timers really started chapping my behind and going, why aren't you checking the oil? Why aren't you greasing those wheel bearings? Why aren't you packing those bearings? I said, well, I don't know when the last time it was done. Hence, good record keeping, equipment records, utilities, fencing infrastructure, water infrastructure. All of those things play a crucial role in your day-to-day ranch operations, and they can be the easiest thing to keep track of. But then there's very few people that do it. I'm not the most perfect at it, but we do keep them. I really rely on my employees to do most of that for us, and then from there, I take it and input it into our overall record keeping system. But it's one of those deals, because trucks and machineries and implements, I mean, they're expensive. You don't want to have to go out and replace things that could have been mitigated by checking the oil, putting water in it, and greasing a wheel bearing. It affects your bottom lines, and it's unnecessary costs that can be easily taken care of. Good tools: Google Earth, Excel spreadsheets. Pretty simple here. If you're not familiar with Google Earth or use it, I highly recommend to download it. It's free. You can build shape files of your ranch or wherever you're located, and draw out water lines, tanks, everything, and it'll actually give you the acreages of the polygons that you may draw, linear feet of fence that you may want to build or already have existing. And from there, you can take it in and put that in Excel spreadsheets to kind of determine, all right, I need to spend this much time checking this much fence. I have this much of water to check. Or if you're going to budget and plan for putting more water in, you need to know kind of what's already out there, and make your management decision from then. Simple equipment maintenance record: date, what you service, the hours, mileage, the service type, and any numbers or stuff associated with it. It can be kept in a notebook tablet. Water resource inventory map. This is super fancy. I know not everybody may have something like this. Again, this is a tool that NRCS can help you with at your local office, map out and build out. But we have all of the water mapped on the ranch. I have it in a records, an Excel document. I know where every water trough is at by each pasture, the numbers of gallons and the number of gallons it holds, along with any depth or well information associated with it. So if we do have something go down, I can go and look at this record, find it, pass it off to my employee or the contract labor coming out to help, and we can get it efficiently fixed in a timely manner. This is the Google Earth if you never used it before. Pretty simple. It's a lot user friendly than ArcGIS and that other type of software. It was a little too complicated for me. This drawing shapes and coloring, I really liked it. So this is just an example of how we broke down water lines, cross fencing, pivots, all the stuff here at the ranch. And I share this with my employees so they know where everything is at on the ranch as well. And they can hide and close features as needed. So again, you can customize it to however you want it. Feed and nutrition records. We use them here daily at the ranch, especially when we're supplementing cows and straightening out yearlings. We need to know the bump space and the storage, how much feed and hay we're putting out, whether that's concentrate, bulk that we're getting in from an LNC, a Cargill, your Lycian Echo, whoever it may be, any cake we're putting out to the cows. All of that affects the bottom line, and it needs to be accurately cost tracked because you never know if somebody's wasting too much hay or wasting too much feed or it's going missing. Trust me, that happens on places. Feed will go missing, and you need to know. Medicine, the same deal. So having records of when it comes in, when it goes out, and what's there at the end of the week or the month is very crucial to managing a good ranch supply chain. Some other little stuff: forage sampling, water sampling, and then tracking your minerals and salt additives. It's really important down here in South Texas that we watch our mineral because we are so dry. There's also a lot of phosphorus and salt and just in the air, in the soil, and in the water. So taking forage samples and water samples is one of those record keeping deals that we use every year to determine, okay, what do we need to change in our feed program? What do we need to change in our mineral program? Good tools to use that. Like I wrote here on the side, Excel, the iPhone share notes, the Google Docs. Google Docs are cool. If you have a Google Gmail account, you can add people to it with other Gmails, and everybody can have access to them. You can even lock tabs if you don't want people messing with certain columns that you've already inputted. And then Texas A&M AgriLife, that's who we use here to send off all our soil and water testing to. So this is just something that I show here. Again, built it real simple. I wanted to know, okay, if I buy this many head of bunks or make this bunk space, this is how many head we can feed on a 12-inch and a 16-inch spacing. From there, I can determine, okay, this is how many we can run and then what we can feed in each one of those bunks on a daily basis. So, feed inventory log. This can be something you keep daily, weekly. Excuse me. The day where pasture that they were fed, cattle, cow-calf, yearlings, whatever, and you just make notches on cake, hay, mineral, and from there, your employer, whoever, you can pass it off to your spouse, your accountant, whoever, and from there they can accurately cost in your ranch inventory records of what was put out on a day-to-day basis. That then all goes in your consolidated financials at the end of the month. Feed and nutrition, hay, cows, bulls. Emphasize budgets are really important. They're going to be your best record-keeping tool out of everything here because they're going to know what you're spending, what you're buying, and how much you're spending on it, and what it's costing per head to do something out there. A lot of people don't know these numbers. I put this up here to literally show you how simple it can be. I mean, it's simple: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That's all it is. And this is just the forage analysis report that you get back from an AgriLife Extension's office, whether you're getting your soil or your water tested. This was for a forage sample. We sent off some hay to know what crude protein it had in it, and from there we made management decisions on what else we needed to supplement throughout the year. Rainfall and water. Some of y'all may get more rain than others. Here in South Texas, it's a rare occurrence. Like I said at the beginning of this presentation, rainfall and water are our two most limiting factors. So tracking good rainfall and managing and keeping records on our water resources, our electric wells, our solar wells, and our windmills are very crucial on a day-to-day basis, especially during the summer. So here at the ranch, we track annual rainfall, our well storage capacities, the depths that they are at, and then the type that they are, whether electric, solar, or an actual windmill itself. And then any introduced storage, water storage we brought in, and then natural groundwater storage. We sit on 4 miles of riverfront here, but unfortunately it goes dry during a drought. So we cannot rely on that as an accurate water source for cattle and wildlife. And then aquifer reporting, again, doesn't apply to everybody, but to some people it may. Very important from a government standpoint. We fall under the Edwards Aquifer Authority that's based out of San Antonio. And I mean, they are very strict on how much water we draw from a farm well each year, and it has to be turned in at the end of the year. We get audited on it, and if it's not turned in, we actually get fines from them that are not cheap. So really emphasizing on that. Some good tools, site gauges, weather barometers, the one I'm going to touch on in this presentation that we use, RanchBot water monitoring solutions. Up and coming technology. We got on this, I believe the year before last, and we've just taken off with it and run. Really enjoy it. The tech is simple. We have these water monitoring systems set across three different areas of the ranch where they may be, not as easily accessible to, where we have the well pump water into a storage facility, and then from there it tells us what the capacity is. And then on the little rain cloud deal, there's actual rain gauges on there that help track if it rains in the night or during the day. I don't have to go and check a rain gauge over there. It tracks it for me and then automatically dumps it out. So, this is where it'll tell you what your capacity is by each one of your water storage tanks. And what I love about this program is that it'll send you alerts if you have a water pila spring a leak or a trough leaking or a well went down or something of that nature, and cattle drink down a pila. It'll alert you on a certain rate of fall that you then can go and look at your phone and be like, wow, I got to get to this location and turn on the well, fix the water, all of that stuff. So it's pinged me in the middle of the night. I've gotten up in the middle of the night, bad water leak, made sure I fixed it, got the water back on, because we had 500 yearlings turned out that would have drinking that pila dry by the end of the by the next morning. So it saved cattle, it saved money. It's a good tool we use. This is the rainfall tracking it does. Been pretty fortunate year to date down here in South Texas. We've gotten almost 18 inches of rain since the beginning of January. So we'll keep on taking what we can get. And this just shows you how it tracks everything. Water resources inventory is what I just told y'all. I kept records of every well, every pin, every pond, measured it, and to know, okay, this is the storage capacity that I have here of water on the ranch. Same deal. Water troughs, knowing how many water troughs you have on a facility or on a ranch, will help you determine, okay, how many cattle you can run. I know we're getting close here on time. So last deal is administrative records. Pretty simple, not going to get into the weeds here, but employee applications, releases of liabilities, insurance cards, ag temps, ag exemptions, all these things are all very important, whether you're one employee, no employees, 100 employees. If you have a department, these are things that I'm sure they will be asking from you on whether it's a weekly, yearly, annual basis. It's good to know what they are, what they consist of, in case you're asked to fill them out, or hopefully not be in front of somebody else at the office having one of these filled out about you. So all things I encourage you to be familiar with and have records of, especially a release of liability. And that's a real common one in an agritourism agreement that a lot of people look over or kind of go past, but you can get sued for just about anything these days. Farm Bureau, TSCRA, a lot of these companies offer signage that you can put up in front of your front gates and stuff that'll help limit your risk whenever you have guests and people showing up to your ranch. And then FSA and NRCS and government programs. if you do qualify and want to apply for some of these government programs, like the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, which is EQIP, and the Conservation Stewardship Program, which is CSP, it's money that the government gives to producers for enhancements like water, cross fencing, pasture deferment, enhanced grazing, water monitoring tools, things like that. So having good records administratively will help you will help expedite the process on maybe getting some funding from these organizations. Again, tools to use that if your office doesn't already: Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive, Google Docs, great tools to use. And then the NRCS department, wherever you're located, will help you expedite any and answer a lot of these questions that you may have about government programs. These are just some examples I showed them. Valuations, they don't have to be hard. Release of liability, there's plenty of examples online that you can pull for free and edit to your name and enterprise. W-9 vendor verification, if you have a contract worker or somebody and you have to tax them, this is the form that they need to fill out, and you have to have record of it by the end of every year. This is some NRCS documentation stuff, verification forms that we all keep records of. In summary, tips for getting started: keep it simple, not like this presentation, which we just went through 60 slides in an hour. Be consistent and review it regularly. Be comfortable in your records, because if you don't understand them, nobody else will understand them. So that's why I said start simple, be consistent, and review regularly. The only way to get better at something is through repetition. Measure, record, analyze, and communicate it with everybody, your banker especially, because minimizing losses is as important as maximizing profits. So you can't manage what you can't measure, like I hit from the very beginning, and keep what matters. But more importantly, have fun with it. All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. It does look like we have some questions in the box. So as a reminder, if you have any questions, submit them in the chat box or the Q&A box. First one for you. How do you calculate the ROI on your drone? Decreased manual / horseback labor?
It decreases labor. I don't have the exact ROI number on that. I've honestly never ran it because the drone was a gift. But from an operation standpoint, it has decreased labor needs and fuel needs, because I'm not having to drive a buggy or get horseback or get in a vehicle to go and check water 5 miles across the pasture. Checking fence line, making sure cattle are in the pasture where they need to be. I used it over the weekend whenever I was in a time crunch. I had to be somewhere, but I also needed to check water on a place. I flew it over. Water was good. The float on the Pila was up. I knew where they're good. I never had to drive into the front gate. I drove it from the side of the county road, and I shaved about 45 minutes off of my, off of what I normally would need to do there. So, there are costs associated with them. I just haven't ran it. I did on the water monitoring deal though, but that's in another document.
Very nice. Okay, let's see. We'll give everyone a few more seconds to get their questions typed. And as a reminder, if we don't get your questions answered today, feel free to email us at education@tscra.org, and we'll make sure to get those answered for you.
The drone and the ranch bot water monitoring solutions have been the two biggest tech pieces of equipment that we have introduced to the ranch in the last 3 years that have affected us positively. I mean, they've really added to the bottom line by saving money in overhead.
Well, okay. It looks like we don't have any more questions, Carlos. So
yeah, they're probably all asleep.
no, they're letting you off easy today. Yes, this recording will be available, and we'll make sure that everyone who joined us today will get a recording of it as well. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of slides there and examples and stuff to use and things to. I know I blew through some of them at the end there very quick. But, yeah, feel free to use everything and let me know if y'all have any other further questions.
well, we want to thank everyone who joined us today for our Ranching 101 webinar, and we hope everyone has a great afternoon and look forward to seeing you all on July 15th for the next Ranching 101 webinar, Beat the Heat Summer Tips for Cattle Producers. Have a good one, everyone.